we have a couple things sort of in motion right now. So the bad news is that President Key has unfortunately been detained in Charleston this morning. He was hoping to be back in time, but the weather has prevented his flight from bringing him back. So the panel that we were going to have with Sister Rosemary and President Key, we're not going to have. However, Sister Rosemary is still here, and what we thought we would do instead is have more or less an informal Q&A with Sister Rosemary. But given the seating arrangements and the dispersal of people, we'd like to sort of welcome you to sort of come in closer, and Sister Rosemary will be down on the floor, as will I in a moment. But I, just like the feeling of being up here right now. So, and breaking something. So, come on in and we'll get sort of our seating arrangement set up, and we'll get started.
Circle up. We know how to do this. Okay. We're going to figure it out. Circle up.
Well, we would prefer you wouldn't circle up. I mean, we would prefer you wouldn't do that. Just move up in the rows if you could, please.
We could do both.
Yeah.
Move up and circle up.
They have an event this evening, so.
Well, we can put the chairs back.
No, you won't be able to put them back the way we have them now. Yeah.
Okay. So.
But do you need the chairs off the stage for her to sit?
No. Very important because earlier this year we began an initiative in the Everly College to start a new series called Visions of Justice. And we wanted to do this in order to invite students, our faculty, our staff, and indeed the larger Morgantown community to engage in critical and thought-provoking conversations about social justice. And we wanted our community to have the opportunity to meet scholar activists engaged and committed to theory-informed practice. As a land-grant university, our mission is not simply to create and impart knowledge, but also to take that knowledge and put it in action to serve the citizens of the state of West Virginia, the Appalachian region, our nation, and indeed the world. So it's in this spirit that we're really happy to have our very first scholar activist in resident, Sister Rosemary Lumbe. Sister Rosemary has for the last 30 years served the Sisters of Sacred Heart of Jesus Order in Juba, South Sudan. And she has answered the call to serve the least among us from the epicenter of what has been an incredibly bloody and violent civil war that has literally decimated northern Uganda and South Sudan. Armed with only a sewing machine, Sister Rosemary has openly defied Joseph Kony and the rebel soldiers and commanders of what's called the Lord's Resistance Army in their more than 20-year reign of terror in that region. Since 2002, Sister Rosemary has enrolled more than 2,000 girls who have been previously abducted by the Lord's Resistance Army or abandoned by their own families. Anyone who steps foot on the grounds of St. Monica campus in Gulu, Uganda, will instantly recognize there are few other places on earth where a community of women learn to become self-reliant and change agents for peace and prosperity. Sister Rosemary has taught these brave girls to make their own clothes, grow their own food, learn a valuable trade, and maybe most importantly, to show mercy to others who are less fortunate. So we're very, very fortunate to have Sister Rosemary with us this afternoon. She arrived Sunday evening. She gave a public lecture last night, and I've had a number of interactions with her. Her stories are inspiring, heartbreaking, and uplifting at the same time. Before I start this conversation, I also want to especially thank Professor Lupe Davidson, who is our Director of Social Justice Affairs for Everly College. Without Lupe's hard work and quite honestly, her connections to Sister Rosemary, this week would not be possible. So thank you so much, Sister. Without further ado, please welcome Sister Rosemary Newman.
All right, so thank you all for being here. I'm a very poor substitute for President Lee, but you just have to take me. I'm going to start with asking a few general questions of Sister Rosemary, and then we will open it up to questions from the audience. So my first question to you, Sister Rosemary, is what made you become interested in education?
Yeah, that is interesting question indeed, because I never thought I was even involved in education, but at the same time, I think I was giving a wrong definition to myself. I've been totally promoting education all my life, and I've been physically teaching all my life. But my teaching style is quite different. I'm more focused on practical skills. I'm more focused on anything which can transform the life of a person. And this is not by mistake. I grew up in a family where I saw practical skills was very supportive to us as a family and to all the children. My own dad was a carpenter, and my mom was a housewife. These people, 2 people, brought 8 children, and in our community, in the culture where I grew up, this is the culture which gives opportunity of education to boys more than girls. But my own parents managed to educate all of us, 8 children, alike. Maybe my family is the only family that educated all the children. And I remember very well that the brothers of my father used to say, "Why are you educating the girls? They will go away, they will not be here." And my father said, "No, all of them have to go to school with their brothers." And my mother was a tough woman. My mother, I always used to say, and my parents were not educated, and even that is a wrong definition of my parents. I now say they were very, very highly educated, because they had the knowledge, which I now see no other person had, to bring up 8 children, and at the same time, they had a vision for the future. They said, the world is growing, we need these children to go to school. In fact, my parents were living in Congo, because my mother comes from Congo. They moved to Uganda because my father said, we want our children to get that education. All of them must be educated. And so for that matter, I thought maybe my life was not really a life of education, but I found I got so involved in promoting skills training, especially for disadvantaged people, especially for people who are forced to drop out of education. And I knew this is the way. We need to give them skills to support them for their future.
So thank you, Sister. Can you talk to us a little bit about the importance of closing the gender gap between men and women, boys and girls in education?
I find that always a question that comes up, and sometimes we become actually unkind, I should say, when we think that we need to promote more boys to study, or we need to let boys take certain subjects. We think that there are some subjects which women cannot even get involved in and cannot even succeed. But I mean, history is telling us even now that we are actually equal. We are not same. Nobody should say we are same. We are equal. We are not same. And with that equality, you just think, who has ever gone into the brain of a man and said the brain is created differently? Who has ever? I think there are some doctors among us here. You go maybe, when you study the brain of a person, do you see any difference in the brain of a woman and the brain of a man? No. It's all the same. With a little knowledge I have of anatomy and physiology, the brain is the same. It has the same function, and we can develop the brain. And for me, developing a boy and a girl and developing their brain, we have to move even out of that idea of thinking, We are going to work in that cognitive development, the mind of the child. They have to learn mathematics and so forth. Develop them as human beings. Their development, their education must be a holistic approach to not education, but to a human person.
Thank you. So, do you think that as a society, even if we want our in the United States, we have a moral obligation to close that gender gap between boys and girls and men and women through education?
You know, when I started getting a lot of interest or coming to know United States a little bit, it kind of surprised me to know that there is that gap here. Because I thought this was a developed world, and I have been studying people like Virginia Woolf, they are from United States, people, some women activists, and I said, what is happening? I thought there would be an example to us, but I realized this problem exists everywhere. Then we think the gap is created, and it is created by us human beings. We just think men must be there, they must be different, they must have better jobs, they must have better salaries. That's not right. I think we have to work very hard, all of us who understand the importance of this, to bridge that gap, to bring it together. And until we start working against this concept, this stereotype mentality, we are not going to succeed. We have to know that the future of the world, I don't know if I should say, I'm sorry to say, but I'm not sorry. The future of the world is in the hands of women. Women, do you agree? Yes. You're not even answering me. Yes. And the reason why I say the future of the world is in the hands of women. Women, you bring life in the world and you nurture that life. When we're talking about environmental degradation, we must look exactly at how the environment is being destroyed, just like a woman is being destroyed, just like a woman is being wiped out of the world. I don't know, I may be wrong, but this is what I look at. It's very important for us to think how women can bring peace in the world. You spend time with the children. What are the lessons you're giving them? Begin teaching them that we are equal. Begin thinking that this boy and this girl must perform the same job. They must do things together. I grew up in a family where we were grinding with the stones, grinding peanut butter, coffee with the stone, and recently I saw a stone in the United States last week, and that means there was a culture of grinding also here. I said, oh, so this culture got lost here because everybody went to technology. But I was grinding with my brother. My mother put for us 2 stones. I'm grinding millet, my brother is grinding millet. I go to fetch water, my brother will go with me to fetch water. When I had more work, my father was telling my brothers, wash her clothes, iron her clothes, put them ready for her tomorrow when you go to school. And these are people who are not educated. These are people who are in the middle of a stereotype mentality where everybody thinks girls should remain or girls should work. That can be done even here in the United States.
So, sister, what do you think inspired your parents to be champions of gender equality?
I don't even know what really made them bad. I think my parents loved their children. And by the way, that's a good question because my dad came from a family where they were all 9 boys. They didn't have 1 sister. And actually, none of you can ask me why my name is Nyirunga, you know? Nobody. You think it is just a name picked like that. In Africa, there is no name that is given without a meaning. My dad gave me this name, which means the girls are not there. The girls are not visible. Girls are not there. Nir means girls, Umbe, they are not there. So that tells you my dad wanted more girls. He was not satisfied with only 4. He needed more girls. And for that matter, he gave us power. He empowered us, the girls in our family. Actually, I know that my sisters who are married, in Africa, we have a lot of problem of polygamies or gender-based violence. But I have top sisters, none of them had a husband taking another wife. None. They are all by themselves. And there was no question of abusive marriage. If the husband was abusive, my father would say, come back home. And I think this is something which my father really saw, that her daughters were his sisters. Mm-hmm. And that's the love which was promoted in my family.
Well, having met you, I have no trouble believing that with your sisters, that they would know when to say no. So one last question before we open this to questions from the audience. Can you tell us maybe one episode that is in your mind where you really made a difference in gender equality through education in your career? And I'm sure you have several, but can you name one that is particularly close to your heart?
I should say, working with the women who were totally disadvantaged, working with these women and children who people do not consider could even be human beings again, people who were considered as trash, people thought these are not going to be contributing members in the society. I really made sure I went deep and I started thinking about the type of knowledge these people have. And actually now, I'm deeply engaged in literacy, but what type of literacy am I engaged in? I want to validate the indigenous knowledge these people have. I want these people, even through their storytelling, even in their own language, to know that knowledge is very important, and that knowledge can reach the wider community. Other people can be able to validate them and know they are not really ignorant. And for me, one of the things which has made me really to get deep in education for both boys and girls, I have put a lot of emphasis on children. I know, first of all, if I promote a woman, she's going to read stories, she's going to learn to read, and she will share it with her children. I've known some women who we take in our literacy class. When they go back, they're reading stories now to their children. And that is really something in my heart. To know that they are able to teach their children, to know they are able to read together with their children. That for me means they are going to promote also education. And also they are going to bridge that gap of gender eventually.
Thank you. So I would like to open the questions to the audience. We have a microphone because although we are not many, it's still a big room.
Hi, Sister Rosemary, and welcome to campus. Thank you for coming. I'm Lisa D. Frank Cole, and I work in leadership studies, and I study women in leadership. I'm really interested in knowing what you think are the key attributes for a woman leader. It could be you, or what you think generally are good attributes for a woman leader. Thank you.
You know, a woman leader is just a leader who is a human being, not just a woman. And a woman leader can be any person. And I like the idea very much that we have the God in the book by Paul Young, who is a woman. That means the greatest picture of leadership is a woman. And for me, a woman leader is one who accepts herself as she is. Do not pretend to be someone else. Be yourself. Be a woman, but put your head up. Walk with integrity. Walk with dignity. You know, in the United States, when you tell somebody that is big, people get really angry. And in Africa, when you say a woman is fat, they're so happy. Yeah, we feel very happy. Because they say, if you meet a woman who is walking and you don't hear the sound of her feet, she's weak. A big woman walks and you hear the sound. That is a strong woman. That is a leader. So, Walk with the sound of your feet, which can be heard by other people. Be strong. That is a woman leader. And for me, I tell everybody, do not put the shoes of somebody. Put your own shoes. Don't think I'm going to ask the shoes of Judith. No. I will walk within a short distance and my feet will be hurting. If I get someone walking with the long heels, I want to try, that is not going to fit me. I don't know my shoes. I want to walk like this, like my legs are short. And I have to accept. I have to accept myself as I am. Recently, I told some friends of mine, we went with them actually to a restaurant, and I said, you know, I now know who I am. I've never spoken this and nobody knows. You know, when I sit on these chairs, my legs don't reach down completely. They're hanging up because I'm short. And I accept it. That is a leader. Be humble. At the same time, have integrity. Thank you.
Sometimes in opposition, sometimes in harmony, as well as potentially the influx of English as a global language that comes into that context as well. And thinking about our context here in language education, I'm curious, you briefly mentioned that you work with the people that come to work with you in their native languages first, right? Yeah. And then I'm curious about how that process works. So working with them in their native languages, teaching additional languages, working with English. Can you comment on this a little bit?
You know, that is a little bit complex, but at the same time, this is what I like working with complex issues. And I know very well that people for a long time have thought English is the only language. And when you don't know English, you are not educated. And that is all what we have in my country. Once a person doesn't know English, is considered uneducated. And I have lived in that, and I accepted that. My country was colonized by the British, and then actually I started knowing that the British could not learn any of our languages, so they had to teach us their language. And so we have to sit for exams in their language. But now, it's so different that these are the people we have lost all the chances of education because they were forced to drop out of education due to conflict. What are we going to do? Are we going to consider them uneducated? If we are bringing literacy, what type of approach are we taking? My approach is they should learn how to read and write starting in their language. Because we interview these women and say, do you know, have you ever been in school? We say, yes, I went maybe to class 2, then I was abducted. Can you write in your language? No, I cannot write. Can you read in your language? No, I cannot read. That pained me. I went to church one day. They were carrying out mass weddings. And that in my own culture, I was so angry about the whole thing. Not about the wedding, but I hope I will get time one day to address my anger. The women, after mentioning, saying their marriage vows, the men were going first to sign the book. The women were left behind to come and put their thumbs. Because they could not read and write, that really made, I suffered to say it. And I said, these women need to learn to read and write in their language. But it is not a rejection of English. English can be taught to them as a media of communication because that's what everybody speaks in the country. But at the same time, while they're learning English, I want them to consider the importance of learning in their language. If they know how to read and learn in their language, learning English will be easy. So that is my approach. And actually, I am doing something crazy, I know, and it will come out as crazy as it can be. I interview them in their own language. I got IRB to approve that, and I wrote the questionnaires in their language. IRB was struggling to read in their language. I said, you got to read it. It's not in English. And that's what I'm going to do. So they approved it. They are struggling to read. I said, and I'm going to carry out my research. I will do it in their language. Write one page in their language and interpret it in English. When I tried to transcribe the interview I had with them, one of the most difficult thing I found was that I was forcing myself to introduce some of the words which were not coming in our language. When I said, let me introduce myself, I come from the University of Oklahoma, there is not a single word in our language which can describe university. I had to say, I come from the big home of learning. You see that? There's no university. There are so many words which are not there. Simply, we have our alphabets, which are actually European alphabets. We don't have our alphabets. So, I always say, I've come to know, I come from oral culture, oral tradition, and I need to emphasize. I'm a storyteller. I learned how to tell stories from my mother. When I heard stories my mother told me, I went to school. I had them teaching me the same story my mother told me at home. I was kind of shocked, but I was at the same time happy. That is why I am approaching this literacy in that methodology.
Hi, my name is Lily. I'm a sophomore, English and French double major, and I was wondering what advice you would give young women who are interested in a career in international conflict mitigation.
I would first of all ask you to decolonize your mind. And when you decolonize your mind, begin to work and learn the type of culture you are going to and how you can accept it. Because once you go there, you are entering into somebody's land, somebody's territory, and begin to respect it even before you go. Be open-minded and go there as a learner. You are surely going to take them something, you're going to teach them, but no, you're also going to be taught. And that is the respect everybody should have for one another. I cannot come to the United States and I pretend I know everything. I come here to learn. And at the same time, I tell everybody. Yesterday I was writing to somebody, I was supposed to make a presentation online. I said, can you read it for me? Because when I read, people will say, we don't understand our accent. You know, that is what you said. But I accept. You have your accent, I don't understand. When you speak, I tell you, I don't understand. It's not an insult. No offense if you don't understand my accent. We all learn English. English is not your language. Think where your language will be. We all came from somewhere. I used to speak in England, in Scotland to young kids. When they heard me speaking English, they would be giggling. And I said, listen to me, you're not speaking English, you know. Your English is not the right English, do like mine. The right person who speaks proper English is the queen. When I hear you saying the weak girl, I have never learned the weak girl in my vocabulary. So let us accept one another. That is the humility we all need to have.
Hi, I was wondering how many languages can you speak and how does that help to teach other people and how it's positively impacted your life as well?
First of all, I want to tell you I'm a long time learner. And also, coming from where so many languages are spoken, my ears are very good at listening. Actually, one time I went for hearing test, and I was wondering why they were testing my ears. I could hear everything. They were beating everything, even when it was tight. So they told me, Sister Rosemary, your hearing is 100% perfect. Yeah, I've been hearing so many languages. Yeah, so many. And I made up my mind. As a missionary, wherever I go, I must learn the language where I go. And I must learn it well to communicate with the people there. And for that reason, at least I have 6 languages I can speak. I had to challenge myself to learn through the children. I've never sat down to read a book and learn a language. Learning a language means you have to go towards people, speak with them, listen to them. Don't pretend to know. Listen. That's all how I teach myself.
I'll ask a follow-up to that if you don't mind, sister. So when I've taken students to Uganda, we've always tried our best to do a language lesson.
right? Because he wanted our students to be able to greet, right? And so I
Yes.
thought maybe we might do a quick Acholi lesson.
She knows why I'm going to give that lesson. You know, we have a very simple word. And actually, I need to tell you a story. I have a friend, a doctor, she's in Cleveland. And sometimes I used to have a conversation call with her on phone. And one time she told me to say, you don't ever say bye to me whenever you end a conversation. You just bang the phone. I said, we don't have the word bye. We come to stay. We don't say bye. So, in my language, when you start a conversation, you say afoyo. When you end the conversation, also you say afoyo. That means actually thank you. But I had some women, some volunteers from America who went and they didn't learn, as we said, we need to debrief. And they were saying, afoyo, afoyo. I said, listen to me. You are calling people rabbits. Afoyo is a rabbit. Afoyo is thank you. You see? So in one of the classes, they told me, Sister Rosemary, how many languages can you speak? And can you tell us something? When I said, okay, I'm going to tell you one word which means so many things. So can you tell us? Say yes. It is like a tongue twister. Oche, 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 nipi. Oche, oche. You repeat, please. Oche, oche. Oche, oche. Ni, pi. Meaning, the dogs said, let us surround this mountain. That's all. Oche is a dog. Oche is a mountain. Oche said. And this is not my language, I learned it. So that's a bit of a joke, but it's the truth. It's the truth, okay? Thank you.
Hi, I'm a student of Women and Gender Studies here at WVU, and I was just wondering if you find it important to incorporate faith lessons in your education of children, since you're a woman of great faith, if you think it's important to teach religion to children in schools.
Actually, the good thing about the teaching syllabus in Uganda is that we have Christian living today for all classes. But at the same time, I appreciate your question because many times people ask me, and I know you have heard it, many people have heard from me many times, that do you preach to these people? Do you teach them the gospel? I say, no, I don't. I preach by being present with them. I think to be a challenge to yourself by being present in a difficult situation is enough preaching. Don't you think so? A difficult situation, you know, to be there. When you think that anytime somebody can come and may ask your life, may demand of your life, but how to be there with doors all shut. You don't want lights to be sent out because you don't want anyone to know where you are, but you have to be present in that. So I said it many times, it's very important for us to be present. So people can see the face of the one.
She's converting me. With my permission.
We agreed with her that we were going the face of that one God. People need to see that face of one God in us. That's all. Judy, thank you.
Sister, just really quickly, because you have me thinking about just inclusivity, right? But also making space for people who don't have a lot of opportunities. And one of the things that I'm always struck by when I'm in Uganda, no matter how many times I'm there, are the little kids that walk over from the prison every day. So there's a prison right across the street from St. Place. And I don't know if you could talk a little bit about like that, right? So making the space for these women who are incarcerated to have their children be educated as well.
I really find our mission can be endless, especially when we open our eyes to the issues of social justice in our communities. And as we are addressing the needs of disadvantaged women in our center, I really knew that we were not doing enough. Knowing that the prison is next to our house, to our school, I thought we needed to find out exactly what is going on behind the prison wall. And definitely we asked permission to go in and found women detained with children, young kids. That moved me to compassion. I told the prison authority, we can give some care to these children every day at no cost, just as the charity we can give. Let the children come out. It was very difficult for me to get the children out because they asked me, you need to write permission to the city, get a letter taken to the city, and they give you permission that the children can be taken out. And I told them, writing a letter is not a big problem, I can write it. I wrote the letter, and I followed it, and I said, I need the children out of prison. I said, okay, sister, we can give you the children. So one thing which I love to see, which I'm sure Lupe coming there noticed, every morning you see women coming to our center with children on their backs, bringing them to us. They are always dressed in yellow. That is the uniform of the prisoners. And it looks to me like it's a kind of rays of sunlight coming to us. Then we can render a little bit of service to them.
I think we have another question.
Hi. My question is, in the future, do you think you're going to open up a university? Is there just a school, like a big university to teach women?
Actually,
something like that.
I will not do it. You know what? I want very much many people to value the skills they can give to the women. And I also want people to know that university is not the answer. It's not the only answer. It's part of the answer. There's so many women in Africa, I'm sure you might have known, who are not literate. And if we raise the standard that I need to go to university, I will be cutting off the disadvantage to come and witness what we are doing. In fact, I was already asked, our center is very beautiful, Lupe knows. Our classes are very beautiful. You may think they are like this, but this is something I've been asked, can you give this center to become a university? I said, not until I am alive. This university will not come here. You've got to build a new one. The reason why I'm resisting is because I want the disadvantaged women to come and learn by looking at beauty, by learning how to take care of the toilet, by learning how to take care of they did not grow in that environment. And if we really put them aside and turn all the beautiful infrastructures to become university, we shall not be doing any better. So at least as far as I'm concerned, I will promote them at a different level, but I am not hoping for a university. Unless I get a university for skills training, unless I get a university for vocational training, that I will jump on, and I have some supporters ready for that. They are ready to support me on that one. Maybe you can say something, please? Yes.
Well, I think, we also learn here now that the skill learning is, when you say education, it's learning. Education doesn't mean just pedagogy. Yeah. Education means really improving our life by doing things. So vocational education is important in the sense I'll be able to take care of myself, my family, and the immediate needs, whether it's appliances, whether it's plumbing or heating, so those are not, and those are also learning. Yeah. So if we don't know that, we just know the philosophy, they don't cut it. They don't take care of that we have to have the breakfast and we have to. So today, I think the community colleges in this country are very important, and I would like to see, I work with some giving scholarships. Scholarships should be aimed only go to the universities. It should be given to the community colleges where the kids can go and learn. So that's where I totally agree with you. Universities are very important, but there are a lot more needs out there, and we need to pay attention to those. Thank you.
just wondering what inspired you to become a nun and what Christianity means to you in your community.
I've answered that question for so many years, but I don't even get tired to answer. You know, becoming a nun is a call, and the call you receive is unique for yourself. My call has been unique for myself. I was called by God from childhood, like at the age of 15, and don't think that I really made up my mind completely to become a nun at that point. Because I actually went to the convent. I've been studying in school with the boys. For the first time I went and I found so many sisters. I said, oh, this is my first time being only with women. I'd never been before in a school where you could get on with women. But that was not the only shock. My next shock was, these nuns were waking up at 5:30 and I'm a good sleeper, my goodness. The first day they rang the bell, I nearly ran crazy. I can't do this for all my life. How long am I going to do this? And actually the Mother Superior punished me because I would never been able to get up early. I was always going late to the chapel, every day to mass late. So they say, Rosemary, we're going to punish. I received a lot of punishment in the convent. Rosemary, we're punishing you. You must walk to a parish far from the place where we are praying, so everybody can see you as the person who is always late. And in the parish, they were starting prayer by 7. I was very thankful because I had extra time for sleep. The punishment was good for me. I worked like for a month, it helped me. I always say, God calls you, even as a child, even as you're young, not away from what you have been doing. He actually puts the vocation in you from what you've been doing. Before going to the convent, I was a babysitter to my nieces. I loved them so much. I loved the children. And so I realized when I got to know about sisters who came from the Sudan as refugees to Uganda, they were caring for children. They were caring for orphans. Immediately that triggered a vocation in me to join them. I had other friends who joined another congregation. I never had a call by then. I said, why are they even going to the convent? But when I heard about these sisters, I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. So the call I received did not stop there. It kept on getting transformed to the point that I found from being called as a babysitter, I'm still being called up to today to take care of the vulnerable children. That's where I am. God just keeps on calling us every day. Even when we are old, He calls us. And He calls you and gives you a mission unique from other person. So you just need to reflect and think and say, where is my call? That's all I can tell you.
Valerie, do you want to have any closing words?
I have no closing words. No, I think I am in awe of the work that you do, and it makes me to listen to you, gives me much hope for the future, and also gives me much hope for my church, which is the Catholic Church. We hear many things about the Catholic Church that are not so flattering, but there are also very good things about it, so I'm very proud to call myself a Catholic by listening to you, and I'm very glad to call myself a woman, and maybe I hope walking a little bit in your footsteps. So thank you very much. Before we leave, I would like to give a present to the first student who asked the question. I understand this is a tradition that I learned last night. So Lily, as a French major, voilà votre cadeau. De rien.
He said, I'm converting her.